The bold and the beautiful. Thomas declares war the wedding that ignited a family meltdown. It was supposed to be a new beginning. Ridge Forrester and Brooke Logan, once again husband and wife, were basking in the spotlight of their latest reunion, a whirlwind proposal, a fast-tracked wedding, and a public announcement that sent shockwaves through the fashion world. The press called it romantic. Hope Logan called it inevitable. Brooke, glowing in a sleek ivory dress, called it fate. But across town, one man wasn't celebrating. Thomas Forrester was furious. The news hit him like a slap. Ridge had chosen Brooke again. Not only had he rejected Taylor, the mother of his children, but he had married Brooke almost immediately after. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation. And Thomas, already on edge from the emotional fallout of Taylor's past heartbreaks, wasn't going to stay silent this time. The moment he got the confirmation of photo sent by an assistant showing Ridge placing a ring on Brooke's finger in the Forrester office, Thomas stormed into the Forrester building. His steps were thunderous, his voice raised even before he entered the room. Brooke was in the design suite alone, admiring her reflection in a nearby mirror, smiling faintly as she adjusted her ring. The air was quiet until the doors slammed open. "Tell me it's not true," Thomas barked, eyes blazing, chest heaving. Brooke turned, startled. "Thomas, don't say my name," he shouted. "Just tell me you're lying. Tell me you made this up. Tell me you forged some paperwork or manipulated my father again. Tell me." The tension in the room snapped like a wire. Brooke tried to defend herself, said it was Ridge's choice, said he came to her willingly. But Thomas didn't want explanations. He wanted accountability. His voice rose louder with every word. "You just couldn't stay away, could you? You watched my mother walk away from that altar with dignity, and you couldn't even let her breathe. You sunk your claws in the second he turned around." Brooke, flustered, tried to leave, but Thomas blocked her path. "Don't walk away from this. Don't act like you're the victim here. You destroyed her. Again. And this time, you took it public. You wanted to humiliate her." "That's not true," Brooke snapped. "Ridge made a decision. You can't blame me for what he chose." "No, you're right," Thomas said. "But I can blame him." And with that, Thomas stormed out, leaving Brooke shaken but unbroken. She assumed he was just venting. He'd cool off. He always did. But this time, Thomas wasn't just angry. He was done. The family reckoning within the hour. Thomas was in Ridge's office, slamming the door so hard the frames rattled. "You married her," Thomas said, his voice now eerily calm. "You didn't just reject Mom, you married Brooke." The same day, Ridge stood behind his desk, trying to remain composed. "Thomas, I know you're upset." "No, I'm beyond upset. I'm disgusted. You made me believe there was a future for this family. You made Mom believe it. And now you expect me to accept this? No. No way. This is between me and Brooke," Ridge said firmly. "Wrong. This is about what you did to our mother, to our family. And if you think I'm just going to sit back and watch you hand everything over to Brooke again, you don't know me at all." That was the moment the Forrester dynasty began to crack. Thomas goes nuclear. Thomas didn't stop at confrontation. He launched a full-blown campaign to undermine Ridge and Brooke's position at Forrester Creations. First, he pulled out of all active design projects, citing conflict of vision. Then he started meeting privately with investors and board members, raising doubts about Brooke's influence in company leadership. He claimed favoritism, instability, blurred lines between personal and professional. He hinted at shifting power dynamics. Next, he brought Hope and Douglas into the mix. Hope, caught between her mother and Thomas, tried to mediate. But Thomas wasn't asking, he was declaring. He wanted full custody of Douglas, claiming that the emotional instability from the Ridge Brooke whirlwind was harmful for their son. "If Douglas is going to grow up in a world where betrayal is normalized and women like my mother are treated like disposable trash, then I'm taking him out of that world." Hope was stunned. She fought back. Liam joined the fray. But Thomas was relentless. Then came the boardroom ambush. In a meeting scheduled to review the spring campaign, Thomas hijacked the agenda. He presented a slideshow not of designs, but of Forrester's moral collapse. He outlined every time Brooke had interfered with company decisions, every public scandal involving her and Ridge, every time her presence brought headlines not about fashion, but about chaos. He ended it with a simple statement: if we want Forrester Creations to remain a legacy brand built on family and art, we cannot let this continue. Either I walk, or she does. Silence followed. The crisis spread. Steffi, usually Thomas's closest ally, urged him to back down, but even she was beginning to waver. She hated what Brooke had done to Taylor. She hated how quickly Ridge had moved on. But Thomas's tactics were dangerous, unpredictable. Ridge tried to intervene. "Son, you're tearing this family apart." "You already did that," Thomas replied. "I'm just ripping the bandage off." Eric called an emergency family meeting. He begged for peace. But Thomas wasn't interested in diplomacy. He wanted retribution. Behind the scenes, Thomas hired a private firm to dig into Brooke's recent actions. What he found only deepened his rage. Multiple attempts by Brooke to interfere with Taylor's medical care, records of her unauthorized visits to the hospital, even a near miss that coincided with Taylor's most recent pregnancy scare. The timeline was damning. He confronted Ridge with it. "She nearly caused a miscarriage. And you married her." Ridge looked broken. Thomas leaned in. "You can undo this. You can fix it. Annul the marriage. Make it right." But Ridge, caught between guilt, shame, and stubborn pride, said nothing. And that silence was all Thomas needed. "Fine," Thomas said coldly. "Then I'm going to burn it down." The final move. In the days that followed, Thomas took his war public. He gave an interview to a prominent fashion magazine, not as a designer, but as a whistleblower. He accused Ridge and Brooke of ethical misconduct. He questioned the company's integrity. He hinted at legal action. The article exploded online. Stockholders panicked. Media outlets pounced. Fans divided. Hashtags trended: Team Taylor versus Ridge Scallops. And inside Forrester Creations, the walls were closing in. Thomas stood at the center of the storm, not as a designer, not even as a son, but as a man who had decided he would never again allow Brooke Logan to destroy his family. And this time, he wouldn't stop until she was completely removed from the company, from Ridge's life, and from history. Because for Thomas Forrester, this was no longer just about love. This was war. The bold and the beautiful, the mask, the lie, and the Spencer reckoning. Luna's deception threatens to shatter everything. Will Spencer had always lived under the heavy, gleaming shadow of the Spencer name, the legacy, the wealth, the privilege, and the ruthless expectations that came with being Bill Spencer's son. But recently, Will had carved out something real, something personal. He had fallen in love with Elektra, the enigmatic, sharp, and magnetic creative force at Forrester International. Their relationship had been the talk of the town, the merger of elite bloodlines and creative powerhouses. Will had finally stepped out of his father's shadow and into a future of his own making. That future, however, was a lie, a carefully orchestrated manipulation that began in the shadows of Masquerade Night and now threatened to burn the entire Spencer dynasty to the ground. It started with a feeling, a creeping, gnawing dissonance that Will couldn't shake. That night, under the haze of music, lights, champagne, and whispered names, he had slept with the woman he believed was Elektra. The mask had slipped, but only slightly. The perfume was familiar. The voice was soft. The touch was perfect. Everything pointed to Elektra, or so he thought. But in the weeks that followed, Elektra changed. She grew distant, cold. Her eyes, once playful and dangerous, now watched him with confusion and disgust. It wasn't until he made a passing comment about something they'd shared that night, a secret, intimate detail only a lover would know, that her expression dropped. "I wasn't there that night," she said. "Not with you." Will froze. Confusion twisted into horror. His mind replayed every second of that encounter. The way she kissed him. The way she didn't speak much. The way she pulled him into the shadows instead of staying on the ballroom floor. The way she kept her mask on longer than anyone else. And then the unbearable truth began to form in his mind. It wasn't Elektra. It was Luna. The realization hit him like a car crash. Luna Nozawa, the mysterious, fragile woman with a complicated past and ties to both Forrester and his own family through recent scandals, had impersonated Elektra using a hyper-realistic face mask. The same kind of custom silicone disguise that had once made headlines in the Forrester security files, now returned in the most vile and personal way possible. And she had used it to sleep with him. Will was sick. He couldn't breathe. He confronted Luna privately, needing answers, maybe even hoping it was some insane misunderstanding. But Luna didn't deny it. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said, tears already forming. "I wasn't myself that night. I was running. I didn't plan it. You weren't supposed to be there, but it wasn't enough. You violated me," Will whispered, his voice trembling with fury. "You lied. You pretended to be someone else. That's not a mistake, that's a crime." Luna begged him not to tell Elektra. But it was too late. Will confessed everything to Elektra, to Bill, to Katie. The moment the words left his mouth, the Spencer family erupted into something more dangerous than rage, strategy. Because the Spencers don't just grieve, they strike. Bill Spencer, longtime titan of industry and king of vengeance, didn't speak for a full minute after hearing his son's confession. Then he stood up, poured a glass of scotch, and said coldly, "We go to war." Katie was less composed. She cried. She hugged Will. Then she turned to Bill and demanded that they press criminal charges. What Luna did wasn't just morally repugnant, it was illegal. Impersonation, sexual fraud, assault under false identity. The legal ramifications alone could end Luna's life, and maybe they should. Elektra, however, was a different beast entirely. She didn't scream. She didn't collapse. She simply said she will pay for what she did, and then she walked out, not from Will's life, not yet, but from any role in covering up the scandal. What followed was a swift, silent movement through every legal and corporate channel the Spencers had access to. Within 48 hours, Luna's employment was terminated. Her keycards were deactivated. A quiet meeting was held with Forrester's legal team, who quickly moved to distance the brand from any knowledge or involvement in her actions. But the Spencers weren't satisfied with internal damage. They wanted her name ruined. Bill hired private investigators to comb through Luna's past. Every odd disappearance, every breakdown, every shadowy clinic, every whispered link to Sheila Carter, it all came back under the microscope. And slowly, a picture began to form. Luna had a history of erratic behavior, unexplained absences, masked identities, and covert connections to deeper criminal elements. There were whispers that she had once been protected, possibly even sponsored by someone in Sheila's old network. The story was too perfect to ignore. Bill called it the Luna File, and it was damning. He leaked it anonymously to the press. Tabloids exploded. Headlines screamed, "Fashion fraud, Luna Nozawa accused of identity scam to seduce Spencer, Air 6 seduction. How a masked woman tricked Will Spencer into bed Lunagate." What did Forrester know, and when? The media firestorm was unstoppable. Will became both a victim and a symbol of privilege violated, of consent destroyed, of how even the most powerful can be manipulated. Meanwhile, Luna went into hiding. She disappeared from public view, reportedly staying with Remy, who now found himself harboring a woman with a potential arrest warrant hanging over her head. Luna was unrecognizable, thinner, paler, broken. She hadn't meant for this to happen. She never wanted to hurt Will. But the moment she put on that mask, the moment she chose to become someone else for a night, she had sealed her fate. And now the Spencer family was closing in. Katie met with prosecutors. Bill spoke with federal agents. There were rumors of deeper charges being explored, not just impersonation, but conspiracy, fraud, emotional abuse. And worse, Elektra was now personally lobbying fashion councils and elite business circles to blacklist Luna from the industry forever. Hope Logan tried to intervene. She met with Will, pleading with him to consider the emotional trauma Luna had endured, the psychological state she had been in. But Will shut her down. I was violated. Don't romanticize it. Don't turn her into a victim just because she's fragile. The rift spread quickly. Douglas heard whispers. RJ withdrew. Steffi refused to comment. Eric was horrified but silent. And Ridge. He said only this. What Luna did may have just ended her life in this town. In one final twist, a piece of evidence emerged: security footage from Masquerade Night, long thought lost. It showed Luna entering the party in full Electra disguise. It showed her watching Will. It showed her making the move. It confirmed everything. The tape was handed to the district attorney. Now, the question was no longer if Luna would be charged, but when. Electra filed a civil suit. Will cooperated with authorities. Katie spoke to the press, delivering a scathing statement about what happens when deception invades intimacy. And Bill Spencer. He stood on the balcony of Spencer Publications, staring at the skyline, and said quietly to no one in particular, "This is what happens when you come for my son," and across the city. Luna cried in the darkness, knowing that no mask could ever hide her now. The bold and the beautiful, resurrection, deception, and the rise of Remy Luna's return unleashes a new storm behind the scenes. Luna Nozowa was supposed to be gone. After the scandal, after the deception, after the firestorm of truth exploded around her masked encounter with Will Spencer, she disappeared. The press declared her career dead. Forrester Creations erased her name from every file and campaign. Social media buried her under shame and speculation. No one expected her to resurface. And yet, like so many before her in the tangled history of the bold and the beautiful, Luna came back not through headlines or public statements, but by quietly reappearing in the most unexpected place, at the most vulnerable moment, in front of the one person who could either save her or destroy her, Remy. Remy didn't know what to make of the figure banging on his door at 2 in the morning. He opened it to find a ghost soaking wet, trembling, eyes wide with something between fear and madness. "Don't scream," she whispered. "It's me." And there she was. Luna, alive, not just physically but emotionally unstable, clutching a ripped handbag, visibly thinner, wearing layers of clothes that didn't belong to her. For a moment, Remy didn't believe it. This was the woman the entire city thought had fled into legal oblivion. The woman accused of impersonating Electra, of seducing Will Spencer under false identity, of sexual fraud. But here she was, breathing heavily on his doorstep, asking for help or maybe forgiveness. "I had no one else," she said quietly. "Everyone's hunting me." I had nowhere left to go. Remy let her in, cautiously. The last time he saw her, she was crumbling. Now she looked hollow, as though she had died and crawled back from the edge of something unspeakable. "They think I'm a monster," she added. "But I didn't mean for any of it to happen. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I needed one night. I needed to feel alive." Remy didn't respond. He poured her tea, sat across from her, listened. What she revealed next was more than shocking. It was absurd, yet somehow, in the world of the Forresters, completely believable. Luna said she had faked her disappearance, deliberately. After the fallout from the masquerade, she had received a warning: anonymous, whispered, and terrifying: disappear, or be erased for real. She interpreted it as a threat from the Spencer machine. She left the country, stayed in southern France under a false name, and only returned when she realized something. Running wasn't enough. "I didn't just vanish," she said. "I died. I buried who I was. And now I don't know who I am anymore." Remy stared at her, unsure of what to say. Luna was either deeply traumatized or still playing her game. "So why come to me?" he asked. Luna hesitated. Then her voice dropped into a lower register. "Because you're the only one who ever saw me. The real me. Not the designer. Not the puppet. Not the girl trying to please Poppy, or Hope, or RJ. You saw the part of me that didn't want to be saved. And you didn't look away. Remy was still processing when she leaned forward. But I need something from you. I need you to help me fix this. I need you to help me get to Will. That's when the temperature in the room dropped. Remy's dilemma, protector or pawn. Remy didn't trust easily. And Luna. Luna had just admitted to one of the most intimate, destructive deceptions in recent memory, impersonating Elektra, sleeping with Will under false pretenses, and then vanishing before the storm could land squarely on her shoulders. The Spencer family was actively working with prosecutors. Elektra had filed civil action. Will had publicly labeled her behavior as a violation, and yet here Luna sat, asking Remy to help her get closer to the man she had deceived. Why, Remy asked, jaw clenched. So you can apologize. Or manipulate him again. Luna's eyes welled. I want him to understand. I want to explain. He deserves the truth from me, not from the media. Not from Brooke. Not from Elektra. Remy stood, walked to the window, thought about it. This could go two ways. He could shield Luna, hide her, help her re-enter Will's orbit. Or he could expose her, give the Spencers what they wanted, hand her over, get in front of the legal fallout before it landed on his own reputation. After all, he was rising fast within Forrester's youth division, already gaining attention from Eric and Rich. Any association with Luna could destroy that overnight. You're asking me to risk everything, Remy said. I already lost everything, Luna replied. He didn't answer. The new dynamic, Luna and Remy's secret alliance. Despite every reason to say no, Remy agreed to let Luna stay temporarily. Under conditions. No outside contact. No attempts to reach Will directly. No stepping near the Forrester offices. She agreed, grateful. But what neither of them anticipated was how their dynamic would shift. In private, Luna became both fragile and cunning, switching between vulnerable confessions and strategic thinking. Remy couldn't tell if she was recovering or recalibrating. They think I'm finished, Luna whispered one night. But they don't understand. There's something worse coming, Remy frowned. What do you mean? Will's not the only one I deceived. She never elaborated. Remy started digging. In the files. In the rumors. He discovered fragments of Luna's movements during her disappearance, unexplained wire transfers, strange clinic visits, possible contact with someone tied to Sheila Carter's old alias network. There was a pattern of vanishing women, assumed identities, and manipulated men. Remy began to question everything. What if Luna wasn't just a victim or a villain, but a product of something bigger? What if the person Luna was running from wasn't Will or Elektra or Bill, but someone invisible? The younger generation takes center stage as Luna remained hidden and Remy wrestled with his conscience. The younger generation at Forrester Creations felt the aftershocks. RJ noticed Remy's absence and grew suspicious. Hope couldn't get straight answers from either of them. Douglas overheard tension between Will and Elektra, telling Steffi that Uncle Will's face looks angry every time someone says Luna. A backstage divide emerged. Some sympathized with Luna, especially newer interns and young creatives who felt the Spencers were using power to crush an already broken girl. Others saw her as a manipulative liar who had no place in their world anymore. Remy, caught in the middle, started receiving anonymous threats. We know she's with you. Give her up, or you go down to he didn't know who sent them. It could have been Elektra's legal team, or Spencer Security, or someone worse. But the clock was ticking, and Luna was becoming more desperate. I have to see him, she said one night, trembling. I have to face him before the rest of them find me. You go near him, Remy warned, and I'm done protecting you. Then don't protect me, Luna replied, eyes fierce for the first time. Help me fight. And suddenly, the lines were redrawn. Remy, the rising star of Forrester's future, was now at the center of a dangerous secret. Luna was alive, hiding, plotting, and possibly ready to expose more truths than the Forresters, or the Spencers, were prepared to hear. The war ahead, what happens next, isn't just about Will's pain or Elektra's fury. It's about the next generation of the Forrester world. Remy holds the key to what comes next. If he betrays Luna, she faces jail, public ruin, and total erasure. If he helps her, he risks his name, his future, and his connection to a company he's fought to earn a place in. But Luna's presence changes everything. She's not gone. She's reborn. And with Remy at her side, willing or not, a new chapter is just beginning, one that threatens to unravel the foundation of the families that built this world. Behind every runway and every boardroom door, the storm is gathering. And this time, it's the young blood writing the rules.